Shalom, my friends. This weekend we are celebrating Thanksgiving, Thursday Thanksgiving, and all that follows. The Hebrew term for Thanksgiving is Yom HaHodayah, the day of Thanksgiving. Because of the very way in which America operates, the holiday has two very active segments. The first is our gathering around a festive table to give thanks. The other is to do some very serious shopping. So immediately after Thanksgiving Thursday, there is Black Friday, followed quickly by Small Business Saturday, and then on Monday, Cyber Monday. Canada has its own Thanksgiving Day with its own foods, little of the same shopping frenzy, but a wonderful French name, Jour de l'Action de Grâce. On this Thanksgiving weekend, may my words now be understood to be coming from my heart and seeking to enter into your hearts. Thank you for embracing our conversations which center around our most sacred text, the Torah. Your love, your interest, your wisdom, your unflagging support mean the world to me. Thank you. Show and tell. This book arrived, getting it right? This book arrived by FedEx in our apartment about 4 days ago. The book is the product of 18 months of very hard work under the guidance, by the way, see the Hebrew side? Isn't that great? Work under the guidance of the CCR Press, work that involved the partnership of my friends and colleagues, Rabbi John Rossoff, Rabbi Judith Schindler, Rabbi Noah Satat. You can purchase the book, yes you can, either on Amazon or through the CCAR Press. And then, yes, I will be starting a book tour in February, and I would love to visit your communities to share a message, a dream, and a project. Just be in touch with me through email. Enough of the self-serving propaganda. Genesis 25:19 and following, our Sedra Toldot, follows what most certainly is a very familiar arc. Isaac is now old and blind. He knows that his time of death is approaching. He wants to bless his favored son, Esau, but Rebekah wanted Jacob to get the blessing and the spiritual inheritance that blessing would guarantee. A little bit of cosplay followed. And then Jacob does indeed get the blessing. Esau rages, and Jacob is forced to flee for his life. It's a well-known story. Okay. But Rabbi Shlomo Riskin weaves into it a narrative and a perspective that speaks as much to 2019 as it does to a world 3,500 years ago. I was actually shocked by the manner in which Riskin, verse by verse, builds a case for changing life in contemporary Israel upon the story within our Sedra. This story of Jacob and Esau, Rebekah and Isaac is a story of deception. But did it really have to go down that way? Rebekah knew that Isaac favored Esau. Esau was a hunter. He ate what he killed. He was an outdoorsman. He was a rough and tumble guy. His younger twin, Jacob, was far from identical. Jacob was an Ish Tam, Yoshev Ohalim, a stay-at-home kind of a guy. He was reserved. He was quiet. He enjoyed cooking for the family. He respected tradition. He was very close to his mother. But Isaac preferred Esau. Riskin quotes various rabbinic commentaries to show that Rebekah knew that Jacob was in fact the son spiritually awake enough to become the third patriarch. She knew from a direct communication from God that Jacob would carry forward the spiritual leadership, and probably Esau would become a strong political and military leader. So instead of cheating and tricking her old, blind husband, why didn't she just sit down and talk things through with him? Explain to him what she knew from messages that she directly received from God. Well, rabbinic tradition indicates that that is exactly what she did. Not in the Torah, rabbinic tradition. Rebecca argued that all of the blessings, spiritual and political, should rightfully belong to her beloved Jacob. But Isaac turned her argument around and said that the blessing would indeed need to be divided. Isaac understood that Esau could not have cared less about spiritual leadership. He was interested in power, possessions, political control. In that sense, Isaac wanted Jacob to receive the Bechorah, the religious spiritual mantle, while Esau would receive the Beracha, the blessing of material strength. Isaac believed that the bookish and spiritual Jacob could never succeed in the real world. That world is controlled precisely by those who know how to play the game of rough and tumble. As Riskin puts it, Isaac wanted to give Esau the oil and the sword, but to give Jacob the books and the temple. But see here Rebecca as someone with a totally different understanding of the world. She felt that the world of idealism and spirituality could easily coexist with the world of power and domination. But that's not how things really work. The spread of spiritual growth, of justice, of ethical behavior requires a world of economic stability, a world where courts function, where human rights are guaranteed, where the poor and the powerless are protected. Sometimes evil cannot be fought just by spiritual strength, not by just being right. Sometimes people of spiritual richness have to understand how to go out into the public marketplace and work with others to bring about significant necessary change. In the face of evil, being divorced from power is no virtue. Riskin reminds us that David, a warrior king, is also the one known to be the ancestor of the King Messiah. Now, setting aside whatever we may happen to believe about King Messiahs, you have to understand what is being said here. A warrior king who was blessed with spiritual richness. Only when those two work together can the world be redeemed. If we want to elevate our society, if we want to bring ethical values into human society, if we want to speak a language of unity, of loving our neighbors, of embracing strangers, of bringing peace, then we have to be willing to enter into the battlefield of politics as well. To find allies, those with political power, to multiply our strength. Riskin, you can't just pray and meditate and study texts and expect the world to change. Isaac refused to take Rebekah's warning, so she felt justified to use deception to attempt to achieve her goals. And by so doing, she created pain and misunderstandings that have lasted seemingly forever. Riskin's final words need to be exactly quoted here. Quote, Rebecca dreamt of a world of unity where Torah and technology, yeshiva and military service could dwell together. Here Riskin is addressing the ultra-Orthodox community living in Israel without naming them by name, asking them to learn about this machloket, this disagreement between Isaac and Rebekah, and to allow the ultra-Orthodox young people to get a secular education so that they might contribute to the Israeli economy, and asking as well that the ultra-Orthodox allow and encourage their young people to join all other Israelis by serving in the Tzahal IDF Israeli army. Hidden within a bit of Torah study, this is quite a discovery. The core: spiritual, religious isolation simply is not good enough to redeem a society. Riskin, a modern Orthodox rabbi living in Israel, lays down a dramatic challenge here to the so-called status quo in Israel. To the ultra-Orthodox: go out into the marketplace, go into the army, learn to make friends and gather allies, and together you can change this world. But Riskin's message could speak to us, wherever we live, as well. It's not enough to hold significant values to conduct meaningful conversations about our current political, social problems. We have to get out of our study houses, our academies, our learned salons, and become personally and profoundly involved in working with others to bring about change. That's a powerful message from this Sedra known as Toldot. Have a wonderful Shabbat. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving weekend. The book is called Deepening the Dialogue. I wanted to mention it again. It's in Hebrew too, if that's your preference. It's in Hebrew, really. Shabbat Shalom. Have a great week, my friends.